Today on the Gilbert.K Show, we're going behind the scenes of Hollywood sound design with an award-nominated sound designer, Hollis Smith. From working at the legendary Electric Lady Studios with icons like Snoop Dogg, Björk, and Missy Elliott, to shaping the sound of acclaimed film and TV projects, including Noah Kahan Out of Body, he's the creative force proving that great storytelling isn't just seen, it's heard. Let's give a big welcome to the one and only Hollis Smith.
Hey, Hollis, pleasure to have you on the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. Okay, so let's get into it. The dream begins. For people meeting you the first time, who was young Hollis Smith growing up, and what kind of kid were you?
I was definitely a nerdy sci-fi, comic book addicted, nerdy. Like I said, nerdy kid. So yeah.
Okay, and were your parents were in the film industry or music industry?
Not at all, just fans. My mom was a huge fan of music, and my dad was really into film, especially sci-fi films, which is what led to me be such a nerdy kid. So
Yeah.
didn't help.
Okay,
Yeah.
and were you enrolled in music classes, and did you play music when you were a kid?
On and off. I did study piano, but that was more in the teens. I was in choir and stuff like that when I was, through elementary school and stuff, but I don't know if that really counts.
Okay. So when you look back at your childhood, was there a moment when you realized sound and music affected you differently than other people?
Yeah, I would get obsessed with, back then we had the analog radios, so I would constantly kind of play around in between stations because you could just fine tune it and hear all the weird bleeps and bloops and weird radiant sounds. This was the 70s, so it wasn't very digital, so it was just all a bunch of analog kind of cross talk between radio frequencies, and I would just listen to it forever. It was like I was haunted or something. But
Yeah. Were there sounds, album, movies, or experiences that shape your imagination growing up?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's the kind of, I think, standard issue, which is Star Wars, especially for that time, because that was right around when I was very young. But Close Encounters of the Third Kind really affected me, especially the latter part of that film when they're communicating with the aliens and stuff like that. That was the first time I really noticed sound in film, and I think it stuck with me until today. But Star Trek, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Time Bandits, like all of that stuff, I was just Tron was a really big one because that one was completely synthetic. That one just blew my mind. I think all of that just kind of set the stage for sure.
That's amazing. So before becoming one of the top industry's sound professionals, what did you originally think you would be when you grew up? Was it like
Actor.
In the music? Actor. Okay.
Hands down actor. I thought it was a lock from like the age of 5 on. That was totally what I was going to do. I didn't even come close, but I mean, I did some I ended up doing some voice acting and some voiceover stuff from time to time, even still, but nothing to the degree. I mean, I was going to be Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise was Tom Cruise, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. So how did your journey lead you to the legendary Electric Lady Studios, and what do you remember about your first day there?
My journey. So I went back to school after moving to New York. I went back to school for audio because I used to produce music, and I wanted to get the technical stuff kind of nailed down because that was a roadblock. So while I had my day job, I was a network administrator at like a corporation here in Manhattan. While I went back to school, I was going part-time at night. And while I was going back to school, about halfway through, I got laid off from the network administrator job. So I decided to start hitting the bricks and trying to get in at studios. And Electric Lady, so I sent my resume to every studio in the city, even out. Back then, things weren't really happening outside of Manhattan, so it was weird. I was even reaching out to like these weird little studios out in Brooklyn and Queens and stuff like that. Nobody got back to me. And then I sent my resume. I faxed it. I called them, got the fax number, faxed it. They were the last one. Like I thought by far they were the least likely to call me back, and they called me back the next day. And it was my IT
Wow.
experience on my resume that was it was funny. The job I was trying to get away from was the reason why I got into the job that I wanted. So it was wild. I couldn't wait to get out of IT, and
Yeah.
that was the reason why I got into the place I wanted to be. It's pretty wild.
Wow. So you were hired as a network administrator or in the sound?
No, I was hired
No.
as an assistant audio engineer, but I mean, if anybody has worked in a studio, especially back then when it was kind of an apprentice thing,
Yeah.
I was assisting records, but I was taking out the trash, I was fixing the computers,
Yeah.
um, mopping the bathrooms, and then staying till 3 o'clock in the morning to assist on a record. And there,
Wow.
you're called an assistant because even though you're a staff person that knows the room and technically knows everything about the room, you're there to assist the engineer that's brought in by the artist. So you are an engineer, but you've called an assistant so that you don't step on the toes of the person that's been brought in by the
Yeah. Yeah.
the artist.
Wow. Wow. So Electric Lady Studios has so much music history. Did you ever have a moment where you thought, I can believe I can do this for a living?
I mean, at first, after the fear kind of subsided, when you're just like when you're on and they're asking you to
Yeah.
do stuff, it finally calmed down. But I remember the first time, and it was kind of enigmatic. D'Angelo was recording his second album there, which is the album Voodoo. It took a really long time to make, but this is when
Yeah.
the record label was still supporting him and giving him money. It took so long that they dropped him and stuff. And historically, he finally finished the record and got Grammys for it, but it was way later. But to make a long story short, I was there doing my kind of assistant duties, like the more mundane stuff
Yeah.
of like cleaning out ashtrays and getting old beer cans out. And D'Angelo walks out, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I just see him, and it's just me standing there, and he's come out, and he's got a 40 ounce in his hand, and I was like, and then he walks past me, and I forget, I don't even remember what he said. He just kind of like floated past,
Yeah.
and then after the kind of the adrenaline calmed down, I was like, it's D'Angelo, like to myself. And then from
Yeah.
there, it was just like, it wasn't always that dreamy, but that was a pretty cool first moment. That was like blew my mind.
Yeah, that's great. So you work with incredible artists like Bjork, Snoop Dogg, Missy Elliott, Patti LaBelle, and Kellis. What did each of these teach you about creativity and storytelling?
Well, I mean, with their vocals, because most of those particular artists had already done most of the creative work before even stepping into the studio. So
Yeah.
it definitely taught me about being prepared. And they came in and they would try different vocal takes and stuff, but the music was kind of ready to go. The
Hmm.
witnessing, I got to witness more creative moments from the lesser known artists.
Yeah.
Rick.K set up shop there for a little while, and he was producing several bands. And that was when you got to see the newer, like the younger people. Unfortunately, none of those bands really made it out of the 2000s, but, or
Yeah.
at least not in that whatever incarnation they were at the time. But you would see them, people would be on break or they'd be working for a while, and some of the guys would leave and somebody would be in there still trying to work out piano parts or writing a new song just while they're in the room. That I think was the real magic of like studio time. And I think that's kind of a throwback to the old days of the
Hmm.
studio when you just like set up shop and had access to stuff that you didn't have on your own. Some of these artists just had their one guitar, their one amp, their drum kit
Yeah.
or whatever. And then suddenly they have a Hammond organ with a, you know, um, with a Leslie cabinet or a Steinway piano or any of that other stuff. So I think sparks start kind of happening and new stuff comes out. That was the most impressive.
Memorable. Yeah. So you also worked alongside legendary producers and engineers like Eddie Kramer and Hugh Padgham. What lessons from those early years still guide you today, or if any?
Well, for Hugh, he was the first producer that I saw come in. He had because he had been an audio engineer at one point or for a big part of his career, he knew exactly how to tell, instead of using kind of vague terms like, oh, I need it to sound warmer or make it darker, or this is, like terms that don't you kind of know what they're talking about, but they're not absolute. So you're just kind of stabbing around to find out. He
Yeah.
would tell you exactly, turn the violins, or there weren't violins, but turn the lead electric guitar, give it a boost at 10K, or compress it to this degree and
very
stuff.
technical.
He knew the exact terms to use, and he's just sitting there back at the back kind of counter. And I mean, it was almost as if he had like these long stretchy arms, because he was just telling the engineer to do that. And I was just, I was like, well, why are you sitting back there? You don't even need this guy. You don't have to. I mean, I guess it's so he could write down on paper and focus on other stuff. But he was pretty much engineering it like by proxy through that guy. But Eddie Kramer was completely different. Eddie Kramer, there's not a lot of engineers left like him where they're in that teacher mode. So when I was in the room with him, he never bothered to learn my name. He just called me boy all the time. But he would constantly quiz me about what was going on the console, or while we were recording something, he would ask me, he'd be like, boy, why does it sound such and such? And I think half the time I might have gotten the answer right. But he took the time to actually try and teach you and to apply what I learned into audio school, because there was a lot of stuff floating around in my head that didn't actually have applications. And he made connections for me on a lot of that stuff. And he still did stuff, even though, I mean, even at the time, the consoles that they had at Electric Lady were not up to date. They were classic, like it was like older SSL consoles. So the automation was there, but it was in like some proprietary program that might as well have been an Atari video game. It was just really so he would do stuff the old way with tape, and it was really manual, and he would draw lines on the tape, and he would just map everything out. And also getting to see him kind of reach his characteristic sound, like how he achieved it, like just looking, because even at that point I knew what his stuff was supposed to sound like, but seeing him actually do it, he taught me a lot. And I now kind of have an idea of how I achieved that sound, but I'm still no Eddie Kramer, but still.
That's amazing. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna play a game, This or That. It's a rapid fire game for the audience to get to know you. Are you ready, Hollis?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Movies or TV?
Movies.
Sound effects or music?
Sound effects.
Recording on location or studio recording?
Studio recording.
Analog equipment or digital tools?
Analog equipment.
Horror films or action films?
Action films.
Headphones or studio speakers?
Studio speakers.
And early morning session or late night session?
Early morning.
Foley recording or sound editing?
Foley recording.
Live concert mix or film mix?
Film mix. No offense to Noah Kahan.
You can say both if you want. Oscar win or golden reel win?
Golden reel.
Okay. So we're going to jump into the mastering the craft. For viewers who may not know, what exactly does a sound designer do, and why is sound one of the most important parts of filmmaking? I always ask this question too, and I get different description about it. So I like to ask it all the time, like for different sound designers.
Well, a lot of times it fills in the gaps and it makes things more real, because what they actually record on set is the mics that they use and the techniques they use are there mostly to capture the voice. The sound designer has to go in and create the environment for everything. You have to, whether it's a literal thing or something completely dreamy, you have to set and create that world. So every time somebody puts down a can of soda or picks up a plate or shoots a gun or any of that stuff, it all has to be recreated or created, because a lot of times that stuff's not even that's not what you're hearing when you're on the set either. So you're creating that world, but it also puts you in that world. It makes things more real by letting you know what the room is shaped like, or the size, or what the floor is made out of. I mean, if somebody's doing it right. And then to that end, that's why it's the most important to me, is that
It
it
is.
tells you more about the setting that the person is in than what
Mhm.
you're seeing.
Just a follow-up question. So when you get like the visuals, do you map it out, or you like what's your process for working? Do you get the script for it? Depends probably on each project if you get the script or not, or
Yeah, I mean, it is different for each one. I work a
yeah.
lot in documentary stuff, so
Hmm.
a lot of times they don't really. I might get a rough cut to look at, and I could start getting
Yeah.
an idea of what I'm going to have to get together, or what kind of field recordings I'm going to have to go out and do, or Foley, um, or what the trouble spots are, to where I can start getting my brain
Yeah.
cranking on how to fix that particular, or achieve that particular thing. I wouldn't say fix it, but achieve what it
Yeah. Yeah.
needs. So
Yeah.
I try to map as much as possible, but
Yeah.
often I don't see stuff until right before
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't have the sound, so you go out and then try to record whatever you can get your hands on.
Yes,
Wow.
and you hope that it's set in the same season that it currently is when you're trying to work on it, because trying to go out and do field recordings and it's dead of winter, but everybody's outside
Yeah.
playing ball or whatever. No.
Wow. So many people notice great visuals, but they don't always notice great sound. What's the biggest misconception audience have about your profession?
I think
Or if, yeah.
you shouldn't notice it. If it's done
Mhm.
right, you shouldn't notice it. And that's the saddest part, because you want it to be noticed, but if people are jarred out of what they're experiencing, then you're doing it wrong.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
mean, every once in a while there's a sound that you can kind of step out for a second and go, wow, that was cool. Like, and it does snap you out of the dream of being, in the film or watching the film. But if I'm doing my job right, you should just experience it and not get like
Mhm.
taken out of the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's one project that challenged you the most and helped you grow as an artist?
Probably the first documentary that I did, because before that I had done music, and then I was working in advertising, and I agreed to do a film with my friend that lived across the street. He was a cameraman or cinematographer, and he decided to make a documentary. And I had never made a feature length documentary before,
Yeah.
and th- the thinking on my feet and getting creative on getting that, because we didn't even have the tools that we have now. I mean, this was 15 years ago. So
Mhm.
there were none of the cleanup tools, or at, even the things for creating atmospheres and whatnot, or libraries weren't around back then. It was just CDs. You were getting a Sound Ideas CD and putting it in there, and putting it into your Pro Tools session. But the amount of stuff that I had to do for that, and mix the film in 5.1,
Mhm.
that was quite a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been nominated for the MPSE Golden Reel Award and TEC Award, Tech Award. Where were you when you learned about those nominations?
The golden reel, I was in basically my little tiny COVID studio that I had, so that I didn't have to be in my apartment. It was in a
Oh
warehouse that
no.
was nearby my apartment. I was there. I was working on forget what show I was working on after that, but I think it was a serial killer series.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out. And then for the TEC award, I was working on another serial killer documentary series, and I found out. But that was when the world had restarted again, and I was around other people. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna talk about Noah Kahan, Out of Body. Uh, so what attracted you to the project, and why did you want to be part of telling the story?
well, I wasn't super familiar with his music, but I
Yeah.
had seen him in interviews and stuff, and I knew some of his stuff. I liked what I had heard, but I wasn't that. It just hadn't kind of come into my world yet.
Hmm.
Um, but I will take any music doc that comes my way, just because I love music so much. And when they said that it was performances and whatnot, and what was really important was he wasn't super established, so it was kind of telling people who he was.
Hmm.
But once I saw the rough cut and saw the performances and stuff like that, I was in.
Yeah,
And then when they
that's
said I
great.
could mix the music too, that was, or I mixed the
A
concert
bonus.
performances. That was a big selling point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for viewers who haven't seen the film yet, what makes Out of Body different from a traditional music documentary?
Typically with music documentaries, they catch the person after they've already had like major success. So you're telling the story retroactively.
Hmm.
In his case, they saw something in him when they were filming it and got in early. He had just really
Yeah,
stepped into the success that he has now. So you see him grappling with it while he's dealing with the issues that he had even before the the film started. So you see he's a real guy that just happens to be extremely talented, and he's dealing with this stuff, and seeing him rise and
hmm,
stepping up to it was really interesting, as opposed to some big artist that made it big 10 years ago, and or somebody that just had a huge album and
hmm.
you're trying to get caught up to what led them there. You're seeing him get there, so it's cool.
Yeah. Were you brought in when they started filming or at the end of the filming?
So this was with Radical Media. I'm pretty much I wouldn't say I'm on staff, but I do all the stuff. So they'll tell me things that
Yeah,
are in the pipe, and they'll put it on my calendar. Uh, but they tend to be kind of vague about it because they're still working stuff out, and
yeah,
I don't think it's ever fully at risk of going away. But some stuff that you think is a lock, something
yeah.
happens. I mean, because there's a lot of partners involved with stuff,
Hmm, hmm.
production partners. So I think they also want to keep the information under wraps.
Yeah,
I may not seem like a loose cannon, but who knows if they trust me or not. I might go around telling everybody what's coming, but haven't
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But so a lot of times I won't find out until about a month before I'm supposed to do it. So I
Okay.
vaguely know what's going on,
Yeah.
and then they once I sign the NDA, when it gets closer, then they tell me everything and start sharing stuff with me. But
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So Noah has built a powerful connection with fans through honesty and vulnerability. How did you use sound to help support those emotions throughout the film?
Really, for his stuff, it was really just making it as quiet as possible for those particular moments. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was zeroing in on his breathing and just his movements, and we're adding in clothing, rustling
Yeah.
and noise and stuff to make it real, but it's really just having that stark ambience there so that you notice him more than anything.
Hmm.
Um, and the location kind of dictates the sound. I mean, we're replacing the atmospheres in the room, but if he's in a hotel room in New York, it's not going to be as serene as a living room in Vermont. So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, it's the outside world creeping in, but it's still kept at bay. So you know what's outside the doors. You can hear traffic or air conditioner noise, like a heavier, more commercial air conditioner sound
Yeah.
on the other side of a wall when you're in that hotel room, where you hear muffled birds or whatever through in a reverberant wooden living room in Vermont. So it really just adds the realness. I think when you put the realistic sound design around him, like in those quiet moments, it does kind
Yeah.
of sit you right in front of him. So it's almost, even though he's talking to somebody that's over here, the interviewer,
Yeah.
you're just that guy that's sitting next to the interviewer, so you're part of the conversation.
Wow. That's amazing. So the title Out of Body is fascinating from a sound designer's perspective. What does an out of body experience sound like?
Oh, I would hope it was quiet, but if I wouldn't want all the noise, but if it had to be anything, I would hope it was like ambient, smooth,
I mean, sound.
nice
Yeah. Yeah.
music. But I'd be afraid it would be cheesy, smooth jazz. That would be my luck. Would be some really tacky music waiting for me.
What was the biggest challenge of creating sound for a film centered around a musician whose fans know every lyric, every note, and performance so intimately?
I mean, that's everything, right? Like if you screw up the phrase of a lyric, or the verse, it's not right. It won't pass. So you have
Yeah.
to make sure. And you're not going to you're not going to please everybody, because people are so used to the songs that if you edit it for what's happening in the film, people
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
going to sometimes you're like, oh no, they just edited out that part. I mean, that's par for the course.
Yeah.
But if we do have to do that, make it smooth, make it sound like it belonged that way the whole time. So
Mhm.
yeah, you just do it service. That's
Yeah.
all you
Yeah.
can do. Yeah.
So when you're working on a film like this, how do you balance the music itself with dialogue, atmosphere, and storytelling?
For this one, it would shift gears. So at some point, the music was the focus, and you would have little sound ups where moments were happening in the background. Like there was a sequence where it's playing one of his songs, and then he's playing, I think, pickleball, and he hurts himself, and you hear the kind of the murmur that's going on in the background, so you know what's going on, but the music is still what's carrying it through. um so that, that's when the music is telling the story, and that's when the music is the story. But then
Mhm.
there are other times where we just have an instrumental of some of his songs, and it's clear that his voice is what's the focus,
Mhm.
the emotional moment. And then
Yeah.
during the concert stuff, it's all interplayed between crowd and fireworks and uh
Mhm.
beach balls going and people stomping their feet. And so a lot of that is sound effects, or it's from a moment that's not actually at that moment.
Mhm.
So you have to bring them in so that it's not, one's not overpowering the other, because at some points the crowd comes up, at some points the people clapping and stomping is in your face while the music is going, and then you kind of come back, and the music is
Mhm.
the music is front and center. So it's just that interplay, like putting things up, pulling things back, or choosing to have something in the background so you kind of know what's going on, but it's not
Yeah.
verbatim.
Yeah, that's great. So, did you discover anything about Noah as an artist or as a person that surprised you while working on the film?
I was surprised with how normal he seemed, especially for someone that was so outspoken about their mental health. He seemed, I mean, I don't know him personally or intimately, but
Yeah.
he didn't really let, if there was more going on, he didn't let it show. I think he is you, who he appears to be is who he really is. And it's, it's healthy for him to talk about his feelings. So it doesn't overwhelm him. He's not bottling up all this inner turmoil and then exploding on people. It is just who he is. But he seems like such a nice, and I would say well adjusted, but it's kind of hard to say that for someone who proclaims that they have such issues kind of wrestling with mental health. But
Mhm.
he seems like a good guy to me.
Yeah. So, did working on Out of Body change the way you think about creativity, mental health, or the pressure that artists face today?
It it did, especially with him, like I said, him being so open about his mental health. A lot of, I mean, it's becoming more prevalent for people to talk about it, but he's
Yeah.
the first one that I've seen that was just like that so much. He was just on the, it wasn't vague discussions. It wasn't just anxiety. I mean, it was dysmorphia and what have you. So I think that he's opening doors for other people to be more specific about what their
Mhm.
issues might be, and helping people that do have those issues. But what blows my mind is someone that has that kind of an issue that would seek such a public profession, because I mean, that I feel like that's probably the worst thing to go into is something on a world stage, being a performer. If you have issues with dysmorphia or anxiety, I mean, I get
Mhm.
anxious just being on the subway with people, so I can imagine being on a giant stage, Fenway Park or Madison
Yeah.
Square Garden.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, after spending so much time immersed in Noah's world, what do you think audience will understand about him that they didn't know before? Or is there anything that didn't you think? It will
I think
clarify more for them.
I think fans of his probably won't learn anything they didn't already know just because he's so honest.
Yeah.
Like, and he has been with his fans for the people that have been following. I think if you've never seen him before, you'd be impressed because again, he's so honest
Hmm.
and open. But his music is so developed and it's so good. You know, he's not just some small.
Yeah.
His music is bigger than it. It amazes me that he didn't just. It sounds like he appeared on a giant stage. You know, his
Hmm.
music doesn't sound like it ever belonged in a small venue to me.
Hmm.
Especially when you see it in the film. You see how like rowdy in a good way his crowds are because they're so worked up that they get to hear his music and they're having a connection with him. I don't see how you could really have it on that. I mean, the fact that it's on that scale so easily for him is
Yeah. That's
yeah.
amazing. So we're going to move on to our final segment, looking ahead. Technology is changing rapidly. How do you see AI and new audio tools shaping the future of sound design?
I don't want to see them get involved in sound design. I really don't. Uh,
Yeah.
I know that there are companies that are trying to come out with stuff that just sound designs for you, which I think is so sad, and it'll never
Yeah.
do anything unpredictable. I know that there's going to be tools. I hope that nobody uses them. I because I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy the human brain. I enjoy creativity from people.
Hmm.
The only stuff I welcome that's even remotely close to AI is stuff that helps clean up dialogue. It should stay out of any of the creative process. If it can be
Hmm.
a tool that gets better quality, I mean, it's already happened. I use a lot of them as a mixer and
Hmm.
a dialogue editor, but yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it creating any kind of ambience or sound effects or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of career advice, what would it be?
Be patient. It took a long time for me to get any kind of traction and to land where I felt like I was good at something. There was a lot of
Yeah.
trial and error. But the funny thing is, all those things that I did added to what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
Uh, but I thought to go back to an Electric Lady. I remember my first day there. There was a tech who it was like his last day, and he gave me this whole
Yeah.
speech that it takes 5 years to make it as an audio engineer, like to really start making good money. And those words, even 20 years after that, were still ringing in my head. I was like, man, this is a long 5 years. But yeah,
Yeah.
you just hang in there and be patient and maybe take risks more.
Yeah.
Take anything if you're a young person, just take more risks.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. And looking back on your entire journey from Electric Lady Studio to award nominations and film projects, what are you the most proud of?
I don't know if I could pin down a most proud of because they all had their moments. You
Yeah.
know, it's from that first one I was telling you about, Bending Steel. That was a big one, but I'd say highlights. Almost everything I've done in the last couple of years are highlights. Um, Doing David Letterman, the first season of My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. That was a
Hmm.
huge step, and I was really proud of that one. There was a lot of pressure on that, but I mean, it's hard because I'm proud of pretty much everything. There are some things
Hmm.
that I won't point at, like say, hey, you know, if you want to know
Yeah.
what I do, go check this out. But there's a lot of stuff that I'm proud of. So yeah, it's hard to nail down just one. But I
Yeah.
will say Noah Kahan, pretty pretty exciting. And the Earth, Wind, and Fire, the one that just premiered at Tribeca, that's another one that I'm really proud of that just came out. So
That's great. That's amazing. So Hollis, you've won awards. You worked on big projects. Do you have any dream project you haven't done yet, or anything as a dream you'd like to accomplish?
oh. There's a lot. I mean, any kind
Yeah.
of big, I wouldn't mind doing a big action film or television series, like a scripted, a
Yeah.
narrative one. Yeah, that would be the next step, is
Yeah.
something on that
Are
scale.
are you working on any, I'm sure you're working on exciting projects that, can you talk about any of the upcoming projects that you're working on?
I can't. I mean, I could say
Okay.
that there's some music stuff there, and there's some murder that's out there, and yeah, sorry, there's
Okay.
still in
Yeah, no
development,
worries.
so it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
It's
Okay.
it's going to be exciting stuff though, for
Yeah,
me anyway.
yeah. Okay, Hollis, we're nearing the end of the show. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. Hollis Smith, everyone. Thank you, Hollis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.